That was contestant number 4, Sister Cherie Eccles. Contestant number 4, Cherie Eccles. While our judges are preparing, just want to remind everyone that next week we will have our career day here at Calvary Baptist Church, the following week after, there will be no Bible study on April the 24th. There will be no Bible study. And finally, last but not least, please see me this afternoon about changing our worship area. Judges, will be okay for our last contestant. Our last contestant for this afternoon for the 2015 Martin Luther King Oratorical Contest. Where do we go from here? Chaos or Community will be Sister Kyra Walker. Hi.
The history of the Black communities throughout the United States is inspiring, and we have truly come a long way. Our people had to fight for the rights and liberties that was believed to be granted to all citizens of the United States, but were never given to us after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. To make matters worse, the Jim Crow laws were passed in the southern states. This segregated whites and blacks. There were different bathrooms for whites and coloreds, and our basic human rights were still taken from us even though we were no longer slaves. Black men weren't even allowed to shake the hand of a white man because it would imply that our races were equal. The injustices continued on August 28, 1955 in Mississippi when a 14-year-old boy named Emmett Till was brutally beaten and killed. His body was then dumped in the Tallahatchie River by 2 white men after being accused of flirting with a white woman. When his body was found, it was mutilated beyond recognition. His mother decided to have an open casket funeral to show the world what had been done to her son. This led to the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement and a start to changing the Black communities that we lived in. Dr. King emerged as the leader of the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s and was successful because of his approach on nonviolent protest and his ability to capture the attention of his listeners. Dr. Martin Luther King wrote the book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? This book was written as a map for African Americans about a decade after the civil rights marches and boycotts had started. Dr. King felt it was time for a new phase. Even though the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 had been passed by the federal government, racism was still apparent throughout the country in the North and South. In communities where the majority of people were Black, the conditions were poor and the government was doing nothing to fix it. Also, blacks cannot move up in society because of the lack of job opportunities. King emphasized the importance of blacks and whites one day living peacefully together in the world. However, he knew that this would take time because of the many people in our country that were still prejudiced and racist. Time had passed since the publishing of Dr. King's last book, but the Black communities were still suffering and enduring the hardships of inequality in society. During the late 1960s and the early 1970s, Black activists like Maya Angelou and Muhammad Ali used their fame and power to fight for social reform in the Black communities. Social reform was also being talked about in songs like Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke and Marvin Gaye's song What's Going On. Also, a sense of Black nationalism was developing with the emergence of activist groups like the Black Panthers, where they fought for changes in the economic, social, and political structures to create an equal society where it was not based on the color of one's skin. A sense of pride was emerging in the Black communities that represented Black pride with the wearing of our natural hair, the raised clenched fist, and the lyrics Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud by James Brown. By the 1990s, blacks and whites were still not living together peacefully. In Los Angeles, California, many riots broke out due to the police brutality of Rodney King. Today has also sparked the question, where do we go from here? With the recent killings of Eric Garner in Staten Island and Michael Brown in Missouri due to police brutality, Renisha McBride and Trayvon Martin gunned down even though they did not possess a weapon. Racism has not gone anywhere. The killers of Eric Garner, Michael Brown, and Trayvon Martin were not found guilty, and this put a strain on our communities, uniting protests all over the country, bringing not only blacks together but people of all races. The unity between races is what Martin Luther King wanted. but there are still many problems in our own communities. So where do we go from here? Well, the answer is not easy. It's going to take that sense of black nationalism that was used in the 60s and 70s to bring our community together. In our community, there is so much chaos and killing going on between our own people. In John 4:20, it says, "Whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister, whom they have seen, cannot love God, whom they have not seen." So it is imperative that we stop the violence. It is not fair that when my older brothers step outside the house that I have to fear for their lives, that they might not return home because just because of the color of their skin, or even because of the violence that continues to plague our communities. Our communities are broken and there is division among our people. We have divided ourselves by the constant talk of the different shades of our skin, if being light skin or dark skin is better, when we are all one. We have further divided ourselves by making it a competition and thinking that one black person is better than the next just because they come from the Caribbean, Africa, or if they're from the United States. We have allowed popular culture to negatively influence our communities by thinking that being in a gang, selling drugs, sagging of the pants, and disrespecting black women is cool. We have to choose the community over chaos by voting for our local political leaders that can start to make small changes in our community. We need to get more people, young and old, in the church because when we learn to put our faith in God, He teaches us how to love ourselves and others, and that can truly lower the violence in our neighborhood and communities. Finally, the biggest change needs to happen in our school systems. After-school programs need to be brought back to our communities so that children can have something productive to do after school. Also, certain standards regarding grades should be raised because just passing is no longer good. Acceptable as young black children and adolescents like myself. It will take a long time to change the chaos in our community, but we will prove to the world, and more importantly to ourselves, that we have evolved and we are just as intelligent and unified as any other race. Thank you.
That concludes our 2015 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oratorical Contest. Where do we go from here, chaos or community? Can we please give another round for all of our